It strikes me as odd that someone would have religion on one in their life and also a psychiatrist.
Club. Random.
You're not like in the tabloids yet. You're going to be.
Well, people don't want to talk about me.
You're wrong.
They, you know,
wrong.
like
Trust me, you're wrong.
Club Random.
Alan.
I know.
Very nice to meet you.
You think I don't know who's coming? I barely do, by the way.
I'm a newcomer to some people. You don't know.
No. Oh, no. No, I've seen your show. It's so
A lot
funny.
of-
I have to tell you, like, when you were coming over here, I was like, because they do a million jokes, like, on how big you are. That's like,
Right.
You know, which is funny. I love your
Yoga.
show. It's very well written.
It is.
And you're great in it. I didn't say you could sit down.
You want to sit?
No.
Make yourself at home.
No,
This is my
but
podcast.
like, I was like, I got to see this guy because like they make all these fucking jokes. Like, is he really like insanely huge or is he just a big guy? And now I have my answer.
I'm really not. You
Right,
know, I
you're
get
just you're a big guy,
Big
but
guy.
you know, but you're not like it's like Sasquatch, and you know,
Yeah.
they have those, but you know, it's big enough for the part.
I'm kept humble by people that come up to me and they're like, either you're way bigger than I thought you were, or you're not nearly as big as I thought you were. I'll get both in the same day. So
I remember I
don't know.
met Bruce Smith. Do you know football?
Not really.
He was like one of the best defensive ends, I guess. Played for the Buffalo Bills, who went to the Super Bowl like 4 years in a row. Never won it, sadly, for them. But they were great, and he was like one of the best defensive players ever. And I met him, I was like, oh, wow, you're not that big.
Right.
You know, he's just good.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah. There was a huge asterisk by this. This is I was never supposed to be a reacher. They were trying very hard to find somebody who fit that iconic 6'5", 250-pound frame.
what are you?
I'm 6'3", and I was 205 pounds. I was like a marathon runner. I was like a jockey when I booked this thing, when they came at me. And so I had to put on weight for this role.
It's hysterical to me that they cast in the movie Tom Cruise, who is known for using an apple box
Oh, really?
if he's in a if he's in a scene with his kids. You know, he's like known to be a shrimp a little bit, you know, on the short side. And not that I'm very tall, but I think I'm taller than him.
But if you've written 10 books and you have the biggest star ever saying they want to play your
yeah.
character, like
No.
you'd make a couple concessions.
It
You
didn't
bring out
bother-
the apple
It
box.
didn't bother me one bit. I'd never heard of the book. Not a book I would read. Still haven't, and I don't need to. Now I have the show.
Yeah.
You know, and I enjoyed the Tom Cruise movies. Tom Cruise is, you know, obviously the most reliable movie star. Like, I can't think of a movie of his that bored me.
None.
None.
Never.
And many,
Including the Reacher films.
including the Reacher films.
Yeah.
It didn't bother. I didn't give a shit. It's a kick-ass movie. I mean, he's not really, you know, maiming these people.
Right.
It's just good fun, and you know, and everything you build around the action is important. I'm telling you, your show. I don't know who writes it, but they did a hell of a good job.
Thank you. They do a good job.
It's
We got
not-
a good. There's a room. There's a writer's room. Nick Santora, I would give credit for that. He's just incredibly talented.
Yeah.
And has captured the tone and the levity of Reacher perfectly. So
That's in the books?
totally? I couldn't believe how funny the books were when I read them. I
Oh, is
thought
that
it was
right?
just yeah. I just thought it was like I just thought it was pure action. I don't know, action and drama, and
Right.
the character's funny, and there's a lot of levity, and the fact that he's so socially awkward is hilarious, and it's disarming. And
Actually, he's quite articulate. I mean, he has like lots of
on this show, he doesn't say much in the books.
Oh, really?
I
In the
thought I
book?
was hitting the lottery because I was like, I'm not gonna have to learn any lines. And then I get a 9-page monologue the first day, and I'm like, so I'm delivering all the exposition. I see. But it's fun,
Yeah.
and the way it's handled is
Yeah, you know, I mean, I remember reading for parts, and like you'd think you'd nailed it, and then like you'd see who got it, and they go, "Okay, that guy just was this,"
right.
you know, and you know, there's no shame in that you're just this guy,
Totally.
and you are, right?
It
mean,
seems to be true for me.
No,
right
I mean,
now.
even like personality-wise, you seem like the, you know, I don't know anything about you, personal life, but Am I wrong to guess that?
Reacher is much more stoic than I am. I love people so much.
Really?
And that's why I'm here.
I don't.
I just, I deeply love, I have an affection for people. And,
I do too. I mean, I'm so blessed with so many, when you get older, you collect people just the way you collect all the shit in this room and everything else in life. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's good.
Not at all. I would say I work with a psychiatrist. I just started working with a psychiatrist. And the number one theme, for me. And the number one theme in this conversation is you have to plug in, like to put people in your life, just to broaden your landscape, because I'm so intensely private and so self-reliant and such a lone wolf.
That's Reacher. It's what I just said to you.
It is Reacher.
So I was right.
That is Reacher. But
do you have a house?
I don't.
No. Oh.
I just sold my house because I'm never there.
So what do you walk on the road like?
I live out of like Airbnbs and
That's
stuff where I work. I mean, dude, I have not had a day other than the strike. I had not had a single weekend off in like 2 years. I go from project to project with no time in between. It's been a very good run. And I'm never home, and I like it that way. And I've got 3 kids, and I've got a wife, and we all travel together, and we homeschool our kids. And
you like Reacher, but he brings his kids on the road?
Yeah, a little more than a toothbrush. Yeah.
I saw the trailer. They sent me the trailer. I guess it's not out yet, right? The movie, the World War II
Ministry
movie?
of Yes.
Now, for something like me, that looks really great because World War II, big World War II buff. And
had you heard of Anders Lassen?
No.
Or the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare? This is
that a real thing?
This is declassified. This is Winston Churchill's brainchild, and these documents were just recently declassified, and there was a book written about them. So this movie is loosely based on that book. Of course, it's Guy Ritchie, so it's got his.
Guy Ritchie.
It's got his spin on it, But
what's he like?
That working with him was creatively the scariest.
I noted the pause.
The air goes
Alan.
out of the room.
Like,
so just to put it in context, from a performer's perspective, right? I am super intense with my work, and so I'm playing this historical figure, Anders Lassen, World War II figure, who part of the first Special Forces mission in history, essentially. And this is a Danish aristocrat in World War II who learned English and, from British aristocracy, so a fine and muddled accent. I needed to prepare for this role. He's an archer,
Have you ever done an accent in a movie?
Yeah, I've got a movie coming out tonight, actually.
Tonight?
A Kentucky accent.
You are busy.
It's a busy boy.
You got a movie coming out tonight? Really?
Today.
What's that movie?
Ordinary Angels is also based on a true story. The headlines in the 90s were Snow Baby. This is about a father who loses his wife to a rare genetic disorder, and his daughter comes down with the same thing. And so he's in a fight. It's man versus institutions and medicine and hospitals and debt and nature to try to save this little girl.
It's a comedy?
It's the funniest movie I think I've ever made. And Hilary Swank plays Sharon, this woman who's got.
Love Hilary Swank.
She's incredible. She's incredible in the movie. Sharon in the story.
She seems like a nice person.
She's like Hilary or Sharon?
Yeah, Hilary Swank.
She's wonderful.
Yeah.
She's genuinely a very down to earth person, and was so generous to take this space with me. I mean, she didn't know who I was before doing this, and she was just told he's on the project and. Do you like the script? And she said she would do it. And there was a little apprehension I could tell when we met of this air of like, you better be good, And
that's good for you.
And the first scene that we did together, she grabbed me by the shoulder at the end and said, "Cut. I'm so glad you're doing this movie."
Oh, that's great.
It was so good. Yeah. So she was real sweet. And then and now we've been good friends. So she's great. But she plays this character who is a town drunk and. Decides just on a whim to help this family. She sees a headline in the paper and decides, I'm going to move heaven and earth to help this little girl. Totally platonic, a relationship between her and the father, and she helped save this girl. And it's a very inspiring movie. At the premiere, Lionsgate handed out Kleenex to everybody in the audience, and not one was dry at the end of the film.
Really?
It's a beautiful movie, and. wholesome and
So that's
fun
in the
for everybody.
theaters?
So that's out today. So I guess when people are seeing
I
this,
guess
will have been
movies
out.
are going back to opening in the theaters, huh?
We are, yeah.
Thank God.
Thank God for Lionsgate. They're not only are they taking a swing at the theaters, Lionsgate, but they're taking a swing at original, at either true stories or smaller impactful films, or things like Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare is also Lionsgate. That's a high concept original, a piece of IP. So they're filling that very difficult space with that, like between $20 and $70 million.
You have to sell me on Lionsgate. I made him one movie, my movie, called Religulous. I don't know if you ever heard
I've seen
of
it.
Oh, okay.
It was great.
It is great. I mean, Larry Charles, the brilliant director who did Borat and Bruno, he and we went and did this movie 15 years ago. Wow, seems...
Was that Lionsgate that distributed that?
First of all, nobody would do it today, but only Lionsgate would do it back then. I will always be so indebted to them because
I feel the same way with
my ex-manager at the time, Brad Gray, was head of Paramount, and of course, we were close, and he was like, we could do it, and I said, you know what? What'll happen, Brad, is that people will start to complain and say, if you release this movie, or blah, 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 show it here, do that, then we're not going to support X, Y, and Z. And they had, Mission Impossible franchise and stuff. They had pressure to put on them. Lionsgate alone was like, fuck all you. We're going to put this movie out. Now, they wouldn't show it in many states. Probably the ones where you can't get an abortion.
Right, yeah. Probably the ones where it wouldn't have performed really,
but it did great. It was, at the time it came out, it was the 7th most successful documentary ever made.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it did really, really. But, of course, the material was going to be offensive to any religious people, which is still most of the country. And even though it was not mean-spirited, it was not looking down on Christians, or we one of the first places we went was a truck stop church outside of Raleigh, North Carolina. Truckers, and it's a little shed out in the parking lot.
Right.
And they have a mass there, and they, and I spoke to them there, and one guy walked out right away.
Right.
It was like, if you're making fun of my God, man, I don't want any part, but the other one stayed, and we had a really good dialogue.
Interesting.
They weren't, we wound up hugging it out, and,
Do you feel like you learn anything from that audience when you talk to people from that space?
I'm always up for learning something. I mean, my favorite 3 words are, I don't know, because if I say that, I always learn something. So, if you can tell me, usually it's the other way around, quite frankly, because people, they're religious, they don't know anything about their own religion. Most Christians, maybe you're one of them, you're Christian, right?
I am.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Would tell you that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were disciples of Jesus, the people who wrote the Gospels. And they were absolutely not. Did you think they were?
No, I mean, we know that those documents were based off an older document.
They came later.
Right, yeah.
Jesus died in 33, and the first gospel, the Gospel of Mark, is 70.
Right.
They were not contemporaries of his. They all had similar names, the disciples.
Right.
So it is a little confusing.
Right.
But I've talked to people who are real, serious Christians and scholars and all this stuff, and they, oh no, don't think that's. I'm like, trust me, every scholar understands this. It's not an insult either. It's just that's just the fact.
I mean, the big.
They don't know their own religion. They haven't read the Bible. They talk about the Bible a lot. It's a long book. Some of it's boring.
But the problem that I have with most Christians today, and I talk about this openly a lot, is that it misses the point. I mean, you can get hung up in the weeds about document Q or whatever you want to talk about with where this stuff comes from. But the point is very simple. You've got somebody who claims to be the Messiah pointing the way towards a whole radically different new way to love. And that's through self-sacrificial care of your neighbor.
Very true.
And when you talk about just that, it's a really beautiful thing that a lot of other religions don't talk about, because you're talking about religions that talk about the way to salvation is through doing it over and over and over again and living a million lives, or finding your own self-elevation, through meditation or contemplation. But this is talking about admitting that we are flawed and admitting that there's a path towards joy that comes through self-service and self-sacrifice. And I like that.
The biography of Jesus is anything but unique. In fact, it's stolen. The number of gods who came before him who were born on December 25th, really, had disciples, were crucified or something on a tree, and then came back to life.
Even Genesis, like even the very first story in Genesis, the second line, talking about the Spirit hovered over the water, this chaos waters, that myth was absconded from early Eastern.
The flood.
So, but the thing that makes it different is there's a twist on every one of them that orients us towards, I think, a seed of truth that is worth inspecting and holding on to. That for example, the real twist in the first myth, in the creation myth in Genesis, is quite simply that those chaos waters that everybody knew, and the serpent being, the snaky monster being the mythological villain, was well known to people at that time, but never had there been an acknowledgement that it was God who created that thing, and that he thought that thing was good, and that we're to coexist with this world where things like monsters exist and humans exist, and there's a way to do that in a way that still breeds peace. That had never been done before.
Well, I was going to say, the biography of Jesus, not original, but the message was revolutionary. The message, nobody had really ever been down the meek shall inherit the earth road. There were so many, at the time that Jesus was around, if he lived, that is still an open question. He could not have been actually a historical figure, but probably was. But at the time, the Greek-Roman mythology was waning, so there were a lot of other competing religions. It's kind of like, when anything starts, sometimes there's two meteor movies. There's always, Betamax and, what beat Betamax, VHS.
It's also that idea.
There's always competing things that are coming around. There were competing religions at Jesus' time. The reason why that one won is because in an empire that was at least a third slave, the message of it gets good in the afterlife was very attractive. And that's not something, that's not really in Judaism either. It's not Judaism is not centered on the next world.
Right.
Christianity is like, sure, this life is shit, but let me tell you something, you're going to inherit the kingdom of heaven. And who's going to do that? The meek, the losers. The losers are going to get.
Right.
Now, Nietzsche said this message was very bad for humans because it was telling you the strong don't win, and that, of course.
Well, not only that, but that Earth is not our home. Here's the problem.
That what?
That Earth is not our home. That our home is somewhere else in heaven, right? And so we can take a dump on Earth, right? Because it's not. This isn't for us. Because we're waiting for the better place, right?
Exactly.
But that is also not the message. The message is that the kingdom is coming to us. That heaven is coming here. That our restoration, our salvation, and our heaven is earth, that we're earthly creatures made for this place, and that this resurrection will take place on earth. So there's like, if you're truly following the way of Christianity, you will be a good steward of this place, because this is where heaven is.
This would be a really successful episode if you got me to be a Christian by the end of it. I'm telling you, this thing would fucking explode on the internet. Reacher convinces Bill Maher, devout Christian.
That would be hilarious. And that's not my effort. Look, I talk about this all the time. And what I want, if I could have my druthers, I want less vitriol in the world, and I want the Christian community not to be the one that's known for making outliers and monsters of others.
Right.
It's a real disappointment.
And there is a growing number of Christians who feel exactly the way you do. I mean, we are so, when I started covering politics, Christian was always Jerry Falwell and those.
Yeah, right.
And I mean, the generations change, and it's just the people who are left in Christianity, because it is always going downward. The trend is always less and less people are believing the myth.
Why would you want to?
God
There's
bless.
a lot of venomous Christians out there who are so tribal that what they're trying to do is find safety in numbers and creating out groups.
No, I mean, the younger generations, I'm always ragging on them for good reason. They deserve it. But they do. But, and they know it.
But they're inheriting a real shit show.
Oh, stop it. They're inheriting the best world that it's ever been. What a bunch of bullshit.
For who?
For them.
For Wall Street?
No.
There are a lot of people who can't, they'll never own a home. There are people who will never own a home because of the way that things are structured right now.
That is a tough one right now, but actually it's not even true. I had this woman on my show just last Friday, Jean Twangy. She's this expert. She wrote the book on generation. She's done a number of books on this. One of the big revelations that surprised me and everybody else who was hearing it is that the millennials who we've been hearing forever, tough economic times and living in their parents' basement and actually doing better comparatively by the numbers than every other generation. They're not. Now,
wow. Every millennial right now rolling over in their parents' basement as they listen to you say this.
But they're
they
not.
can't afford a home.
They're not.
Hoping their apartment
But they're not.
So get rent control.
But Alan, there's actual government statistics on this kind of stuff. So what you're citing is anecdotal. That's what I was doing.
That mom and dad croak right now so that they can try to get a house.
Again, we have actual information on that. We have actual information. So you can believe whichever you want, because that's what religion is, just believing whatever the fuck you want.
Right,
but there is actual information.
True.
There is actual information.
Totally.
And the millennials are actually doing better than other
Here's
generations.
what millennials are doing better than anybody else, than any generation before. This is a real headline, and you want to go look this bad boy up. Fathers are spending more time with their kids than any generation before them.
Well, good.
That is the victory that they're having. They're re-ranking their priorities.
And what I was going to say is they're less religious.
They are re-ranking their priorities.
Right.
And they're finding ways to spend time in places that matter more than corporate servitude.
Or church.
Or church. Or church if your church is is missing the point.
Club Random is brought to you by the audio marketing gurus at Radioactive Media. So it's now March, the month that represents the beginning of spring, new life, the luck of the Irish, and St. Paddy's Day, that day when you restart that Super Bowl hangover that just went away. Don't let your business be reliant on just luck. Do something to drive new sales and acquire new customers by partnering with shows like mine. And according to media reports, I'm considered trustworthy. So listeners, follow my lead. You can elevate your brand in an intimate space away from your competition while generating up to 9 times more leads by combining the power of audio and video channels with text messaging and generate an ROI as high as 5, 6, or 7 to 1, whatever ROI is. That's a lot of it. Club Random has been partnering with Radioactive Media since the beginning, and they can create a custom campaign for your company's needs. Radioactive Media has an exclusive deal to promote your product or service on Club Random with me and save up to 50%. Just lock in your first campaign this year. To find out all the details and receive a few Club Random goodies thrown in, contact Radioactive Media. Don't leave your marketing to luck. Go to radioactivemedia.com or text the word random to 511-511. Go to radioactivemedia.com or text random to 511-511. Text random to 511-511 today to save up to 50%. Terms, conditions, message, and data rates may apply. High grocery prices got you down? Tired of combing through your takeout delivery apps, then just giving up? Factor is here to help. Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals make eating better every day so easy. No matter what your dietary needs, Factor's got your back, delivering pre-prepared, chef-crafted meals delivered right to your door. You'll have over 35 different options a week to choose from, including keto, calorie smart, vegan, plus veggie, and more. And there's even more to enjoy with over 55 nutrition-packed add-ons that help make your weekly meal planning even more delicious. Get started today and have a feel-good week of meals ready to go. Factor's restaurant-quality meals are ready to heat and eat whenever you are in 2 minutes. And discover a wide variety of easy options for the entire day, like breakfast, midday bites, and more. Factor is the perfect solution if you're looking for fast, upscale options done easily. And it's super flexible for your schedule. Get as much or as little as you need by choosing between 6 and 18 meals per week. Plus, you can pause or reschedule your deliveries anytime. Head to factormeals.com/random50 and use code RANDOM50 to get 50% off. That's code RANDOM50 at factormeals.com/random50 to get 50% off. But I was raised Catholic.
I was too. I am not Catholic. I am not Catholic.
Oh, really?
I am
well,
not.
me neither. Look
I
at
am
that.
not Catholic.
What are you?
There are so many problems, and I'm so disgusted at the defense that they've waged for their cardinals and bishops and everybody involved in
kid stuff.
Yeah, dude, it's disgusting how hard they're fighting.
Well, it just shows you how institutions become corrupt, and you know, I mean, this last pope, there were lots of things I just like him as a guy. He wavers between doing like hip stuff.
He's very progressive.
He takes a hip pill once in a while.
And then he goes and protects a cardinal who's like been passing around kids.
He doesn't do that.
Like baseball cards.
No.
Yeah, they do.
Not this one.
They all know about this stuff, and nobody. You know what? If he's doing it until somebody stops the buck and they go, you know what? We're going to hold all these pedophiles accountable.
Well,
he is not holding them accountable, so he's just as complicit.
The church definitely.
Think he doesn't know?
The church definitely needs a fresh new face somewhere other than a priest's lap.
Like
but
Jack Smith, maybe could be the Pope. Like maybe we get a prosecutor and be the Pope.
No, but you're being too hard on Frank. Frank has tried more than his predecessors to. I mean, he talked openly about the homosexual cabal in the Vatican. Nobody ever did that. Nobody ever blew the lid off that one. And he is not. I don't think he is. Transferring them like they used to. I don't think he's I think, first of all, it just became too obvious and it was too open and nobody could do that anymore. But I like Frank. Again, he wavers between like sort of taking a hip pill one day and he'll say things like atheists can get into heaven, like we could give a shit because we don't believe in it. Okay, but a nice gesture. And then he'll go back to, he remembers he's the fucking Pope. And, and he'll do something really hard, right wing. But it's like, okay, but that's your brand. I kind of respect that, You kind of like have to like once in a while be that guy because that's what people want. I mean, why would you join a religion if you didn't want like super duper hard, fast rules to keep you in line and to give you a sense of order in the world, even if it's not, I mean, my Jewish mother, sort of Jewish, but not Catholic. She didn't go to church with us. When I asked her at the beginning of religion, I was, why did you go along with this, Because she didn't go to church. She said, well, I just thought you needed structure. And any structure, even though I didn't believe in it, was better than nothing. Okay. I get that. I wouldn't subscribe to it, but I understand that's why. She thought, oh, you need some kind of religion in you. I mean, this is the 60s, So, yeah, I'm not Catholic. It sounds like a bunch of bullshit to me, but they're going to teach you commandments and right and wrong. And I think people feel like, and a lot of people, by the way, do need that. I mean, I think religion, it absolutely keeps some people in line. Mark Wahlberg, I'm guessing, is one of them.
Yeah.
I just feel like without Catholicism, Mark Wahlberg would be all over the map.
And it's not to say that everybody, every Catholic is complicit or every Catholic is in on that or whatever. I mean, look, my mom is a staunchly Catholic. She's a saint, she's like a daily mass, like, spends her free time gardening, tilling the weeds at the church. And, I think it's not just important to her, but it's it's an important part of our identity, and I respect that. And there are millions and tens of millions of people like that around the world that are Catholics. But I personally just couldn't be a part of something, giving my tithes or time or energy towards something where it's so well known that there's hideous acts of rape and pedophilia going on, and nobody's doing anything about it.
So you're religious, but without a structure, you don't subscribe to any one organization. Because organizations do always become corrupt. Always. To some degree. It's in the nature of it.
I mean, that probably has more to do with the lack of structure in my life. I don't have a home. Really
you're
took,
you're
like
reacher.
We're back to being Reacher. I mean, I'll spend 4 or 5 months in Toronto filming Reacher, and then I'll go to London or Turkey to film a movie. I'm in Winnipeg. I'm here. I'm there. I don't have anywhere to plug in really, so I don't have a reason to sort of see what the constitution of a certain religious platform is. But I deeply care about exploring those ideas. I think they had a ton of fulfillment to my life, and look, I'm the last. I'm not the poster child for Christianity. I'm a creative perfectionist and stubborn and strong-willed and duplicitous, and I benefit greatly from having a model for me for what I think the best, the highest ideal of love is, which, like I said, is a self-sacrificial love.
Right. I'm totally down with that.
That's it.
Yeah. I just don't think he's God. I don't think there's such a thing as a God.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out.
Well,
rock on. Like, I do. I'll name it, but
that's kind of
but
like,
I know that's not for everybody.
But that's kind of like buying the insurance when you get a rental car. I mean, that's not a good reason. I'm not saying that's why you're doing it.
I've got an umbrella policy, so I'm
not saying that's why you're doing it. But and yeah, maybe you're right. I mean, I always say it in religious. I preach the gospel of I don't know. People make much too big of a deal about the difference between atheist and agnostic.
Yeah.
It really is the same thing.
Yeah, totally. Look, I just, there's I think there's good reasons. We don't have to get into it. I think there's good reasons though. Like people that were very close to him died defending the fact that he was a historical figure and that what he said was true and that they believed he was a Messiah.
Are we talking about Jesus?
11 of his 12 apostles, yes.
Oh.
Well, there's there are things that have happened historically that are verifiable that I think go to show that people that were very close to him very much believe this.
That's not historically verifiable. That he had disciples
that Paul lived and was a Roman. That's what I'm talking about.
Paul was not a disciple.
He died.
Saint Paul?
He had an interaction on the road to Emmaus. He would argue that he was because he had a personal interaction with. But you and I, you as a non-believer would say it's not possible.
Okay, I got to give you the facts. These are facts.
I
Jesus dies in 33 AD. Paul was writing in the 50s. He was Saul of Tarsus. Yes. He had a vision on the road to Damascus. It was a cross in the sky. He never met Jesus. And in fact, one of the things that's so iffy about the Gospels is that the Gospels, which were written 20 years after St. Paul was writing, know way more about Jesus than Paul does.
The voice that he was talking to. So you have to believe in magic. You have to believe in magic for it to be true.
Right.
I accept that.
I accept it too.
I accept that you have to believe in magic. And I admit, I do believe in magic. The voice he was talking to said, "Why do you persecute me?" And he was trying to kill Christians.
And I love
this is Christ that he's talking about. So I believe that he did have an interaction, a personal interaction with the person that he died.
Oh, I see. Okay,
defending.
All right, great. And you know what? I love that. I don't have to agree with everybody on everything. I
feel the same way.
I love my magic. I love my magician brothers.
That's it. That's what it boils down to.
This quarter behind your ear.
Yeah, totally. But that's what it boils down to. And I admit, I believe that kind of magic is real.
And if it works for you, I'm thrilled.
Totally. But so did Paul.
No.
So you can't say that he wasn't a real historical figure.
Paul was a historical figure.
Paul was undeniably a historical figure.
But not a contemporary of Jesus.
Sort of.
Oh, I see. With the
people would argue this with him in his own day, of course. His own peers.
Not by our
not by those standards of apostleship, but yes, but I would say that he was because of that interaction.
It's funny when we went to one of the stops in religious was Holy Land in Florida. It's like it's a it's basically Disneyland for Christians.
Right.
And I talked to it's one of my favorite parts of the guy who plays Jesus in the thing, and there's a whole pageant where we see him walking on the Villa di Olorosa, with the 7 stops and carrying the cross, and people are taking pictures. And but he, I was asking him about I said, when I was a little Catholic boy, the first thing they said is, they were very proud of the fact that they were this was a monotheistic religion, that we had one God. I think they were thinking it was a big, flex over the pagans and heathens with their many gods. They're so unsophisticated. And we have one God, and his name is God. And he has a son, Jesus, who's also God.
Right.
And I was like, wait,
the Trinity.
Right away. I'm like, didn't you just tell me aren't we over the limit? And then he explained, he said, well, it's like ice and water
Steam
and
and-
steam.
well,
It's
yeah.
all the same thing, but it's in different forms.
Right.
And I told Larry the next day, I think it's in the movie, where I'm like, he had me for a second there.
Yeah.
I'm going for this. This is, at least you have an answer.
Yeah, that is, yeah, and that's a tough, man, it's a tough concept to understand. How can you manifest three distinct identities
Well, also,
and still be one?
To be your own dad,
Yeah,
it's got to be, come on.
yeah.
That's
A subservient manifestation to the spirit manifestation. That's hard. It's hard
So-
for people to understand. But that also is right. If you deny that, you are not a Christian.
right.
The Trinity
exactly.
is the very core.
Stick with your brand, exactly.
It is the very core.
That's exactly.
So you must again.
That's what I'm saying.
You must believe in this kind of
I'm okay with
magic.
When Frank does his thing,
Yeah.
I'm like, you have to do that to you're the Pope. You got to be,
Stick to your brand.
that phrase, more Catholic than the Pope.
Right.
Nobody should be.
Right.
you know.
Totally.
And he's got to, he's trying to move. I can tell he wants to move faster, but you got to bring the flock with you. Not everyone in the parade is at the head of the parade.
Right.
And that's kind of important.
Totally.
So, well, I'm glad we straightened that out.
If we fixed religion in just a
You can't
quick
fix
30-minute
it.
soundbite.
You can't fix it, but you can talk about it, and I do think it is morphing into. I mean, where you are with it, I'm very comfortable with, because what's dangerous about it is when people are fundamentalist.
Right.
That's when you get people flying planes into buildings, thinking they're doing the right thing.
Totally.
Like, none of those hijackers thought they were doing the wrong thing.
Right.
They weren't that's different than a psychopath.
Right.
They thought they were doing the right thing.
Right.
And so do suicide bombers and the people at Hamas. And, that's what's my biggest thing about religion is that.
I'm 100% with you.
I know you are.
I think there are terrorists with a little t, and they
Right.
don't realize.
Well said.
They don't realize that that's them. And I would like to put a stop to that from my little corner of the world with what little platform I have. That's not the way.
I hope this isn't too personal, but it strikes me as odd that someone would have religion in their life and also a psychiatrist.
Really?
Yes, because I feel like they are.
Why?
Because I feel like they're redundant in what they do. Like, you used to go to confession and tell your sins to the priest. I did that many times.
I
The
did
little
too as a
dork
Catholic, of course.
Scared the shit out of me. And then you went to a psychiatrist.
If you were non-religious as your confession.
Well, the priest would tell you that was wrong, you're bad, say 15 Hail Marys, and the shrink would tell you, don't feel bad about it. But it was the same thing. It was like.
But this is why I talk about this kind of stuff so openly, because
Not
I think
the same ground they're covering?
I personally feel like there are three things that are very important to me that we destigmatize and learn to have conversations about in a healthy, productive way: faith, family, and mental health. And mental health is something I've struggled with. You don't know much about me personally, but I've been very open with my struggles. I'm bipolar, I have ADHD, been diagnosed with that, and I'm a suicide survivor. It's when I was 35.
35?
Yeah, not long ago. I'm 41 now. And
So why didn't it work?
I, weirdly, while it was happening, I saw my kids, but they were grown, and they were totally calm and emotionless. And they said, "Dad, we want you here. We want you to see all this." And so I climbed up out of it.
But what the fuck made you so sad?
Depression is crazy, dude.
Oh, yes, it is.
Depression is crazy.
So
I
it's
never
just a
would've thought-
chemical thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
And you wouldn't believe the power that it has over you. It doesn't matter how many muscles you got.
No,
like
it totally, and it is a chemical.
I couldn't get out of bed.
There were people. Mike Wallace was one of them. I think Dick Cavett was another one. You may not know these people there, but they were stars of an ilk in their day. Talked about how they were in therapy for years, and then they just gave him a pill. It was just a chemical thing, you just have to pour something in the test tube that is lacking, and it's really a sad thing because it's so simple, and yet, yes, you can't beat it with your will
Well,
or with
and-
anything else.
But if you're also, I was not diagnosed with bipolar at the time, but I had been manic for 9 months. And I was servicing all these, I was a slave to
so did they give you something that...
I did. I got on medicine. Yeah. I mean,
Okay,
so that weekend, the weekend it happened, I went and got, I called the doctor when it was done, and I said, I need to speak with somebody immediately. And I never talked to a psychiatrist about anything at that point. Anyway, I went in and took some tests, and I was diagnosed with bipolar. And I was like, it was hard. It was hard to accept at first because I didn't want to be labeled.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much power in understanding, and having a label. There's so much power in having an understanding of what that diagnosis is. And now I've read dozens of books about it. I've spoken with professionals about it. I've talked to doctors, and just there's a way for me to manage this in a healthier way than feeling like there's only one gift for me left for me to give, which is suicide.
But you know what? I'm going to tell you something. Not that this was good that it happened, but it actually is a great thing for your future. You know why? Because you're about to embark on this trip to stardom. You're right at that moment. You've done a lot of work. You just said it. You're working so much, you can't even have a house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, you're at that thing. Now you're in the Guy Ritchie movie. You're moving into this. It's going to get really, really heady.
Right.
And you're good looking, you're big. You're going to need something that makes you vulnerable, because the audience, the reason they read the tabloids is not to read how good people are doing.
Right.
They want to feel
Tell me
like
about it.
somebody who's a good-looking, very successful guy has some things in their life that actually are worse than mine, and this will fit the bill perfectly.
Right.
He was so sad, this guy, that he tried to kill himself. So,
But depression looks funny because what people don't realize is I was making tons of money at the time. I was very successful.
sure.
It was not.
Right.
It was not like things are not going well, and
Right.
I'm crumbling under the weight of
No, it's
society
great.
right now. Like, this was the opposite. It was this. It was a combination of this crippling, existential. Like, when you get to the top of your ambitions, what's left for you, and also, I was. I had a falling out with some business partners, and just think, kind of a confluence of things that weren't going well, and so it was.
Excuse me, you weren't at the top of your ambitions.
At that point in time, I was
Really, you
riding pretty
never
high.
wanted to get even higher? Come on, you're just getting there now.
You
You're
gotta
not
understand,
even there yet.
I had been, I'm more a creator than an actor, right? I like being at the genesis of ideas. I had written I was ghostwriting for people, so I was writing manuscripts for people, selling screenplays, I was directing films, I was starring in a show. I mean, there was a lot, dude. I was taking all the boxes. Like, you kind of go there's not much
but there's
higher. There's just different.
But there's a level of doing that you're about to get to, that you're doing those things you just ticked off on your hand, but on
and
a
you
better
don't have-
level.
I-
You're working. You're getting the best scripts.
Totally.
You're working with the best directors.
This is what's happening
You're
now.
getting
I totally understand.
right. You're getting your own shit made. There is a level. So embrace it.
Too.
How
Yeah,
old are your
totally.
kids?
We just had a birthday yesterday. They were 11, 10, and 8.
Oh,
All boys. It was a big
all
house.
boys
Yeah.
and all bunched together. That's good. Makes it easier, right? No.
But I guess if we're out of baby phase, perhaps.
And you're gonna have more?
No, dude, I know it's not possible now.
And it's not possible.
Oh
now.
no.
You might know Ben Mankiewicz as a host on Turner Classic Movies. Now you can hear Ben in intimate conversation with some of the most influential filmmakers and movie buffs of our time on the new podcast Talking Pictures from TCM and Max. Personal and honest conversations with the greats. Nancy Meyers, Mel Brooks, Emerald Fennell, and me. I did it too. I watched Reds and talked about it with Ben and had a blast. Listen to Talking Pictures on Max or wherever you get your podcasts. Hey, I'll be at the Jackie Gleason Theater in Miami Beach on March 23rd and March 24th at the Ruth Eckerd Hall in Clearwater, Florida. April 20th, oh my gosh, 420, San Jose, Center for the Performing Arts in San Jose. Perfect booking on that one. See you there. I totally get why everyone is apoplectic about the Supreme Court getting rid of our abortion rights, because people just don't like kids anymore, a lot of them, and they just want to they want it to be their choice. We are in a, despite what Barbie says about living in a patriarchy, we are not living in a patriarchy, and women today are definitely don't want that as a part of their life unless they want it. But I totally understand why Frank has to be out there going, you must have having a baby.
Right.
And he wouldn't like this either. Anything that stops at the baby and getting it made, we don't like. Yeah, the baby, it's a natural thing. And more, they always want more Catholics in the world. That's more baby. You can't have more Catholics without more babies. So, you know, but I totally get it. And three is already a
handful, dude. I travel a lot. Like, I'm on the road a lot. That's hard.
Also,
That's tough.
Kids are like dogs. Like, if you have two of them, they get along pretty good, but then three starts to become like a pack.
Right. Yeah, don't get too big for your britches,
You know,
dog.
and I feel like they could gang up on you.
Yeah, they do. But they're great. And it's funny because...
And they're okay with the nomadic life?
You know, not so. No, it's hard.
Because it's hard to make friends.
How do you make a friend when you have no community?
But that may make them very strong individuals when they become one. Or psychos.
Yeah, we've got 3 serial killers on the way. We're breeding them I don't know. You know, you're looking at it the way I try to look at it. You know, as glass half full, and this is going to work out to be a strength of theirs. You know, they're well traveled and connoisseurs of many things that most kids don't experience, and you know, have seen a lot of culture, and their minds have been expanded in ways. Like you can try to justify that, but at the end of the day, these are 10-year-olds that want friends and they don't have any.
Let me tell you something. They're gonna. I'm looking into my crystal ball here. They're like at this age where do they have phones and social media?
Hell no. Phones?
Oh, good for you.
Why would I?
Good for you.
Because I give a child a phone.
Well,
who's he going to call? He doesn't have any friends.
Most parents do. Most parents want to have their kids on this electronic tether.
Absolutely not.
I mean, I've seen it, not in life, because I don't ever see children, but I've seen it in TV shows and movies. They all can't be mischaracterizing it, where the parent texts the child who's upstairs.
Right.
to come down to dinner.
Get down here. Get down here.
No, that's what they used to do.
Yeah, that's what we need more of that.
Much more of that. Or I didn't even have to have that. My town, God bless my Leave It to Beaver upbringing, my town had a 6 o'clock whistle.
Oh, right.
And when I was out playing, always by myself with no supervision, as it should have been, and it should be again, but they would never allow that, a child alone. Oh my God, call 911. But I would hear the whistle and run home.
My dad his superpower was this shrill.
Yeah.
I mean, 18 miles away, this thing rings your ears.
So your kids don't have phones, but okay, they're still going to be at a very formidable age in their life, like tweens and teenagers. They're going to become very, very aware that dad is. But dad's going to be like, you're not like in the tabloids yet. Trust me, I read them.
Well, I'm not, I'm not a disruptive figure, so there's not much to talk about. But
you're going to be. You're going to be.
A disruptive figure?
No, in the tabloids.
No, people don't want to talk about me.
You're wrong.
You're wrong.
Trust me, you're wrong. They're always looking for new. You're going to be in the tabloids.
I'm not interesting enough.
Shut up.
Let me keep my head down.
First of all, they don't give a shit if you're interesting. You don't have to be interesting. I'm fucking interesting. Nobody's more interesting than me. They don't cover me that much because I'm 68 and older and male and heterosexual and a million other things. Right. But I'm telling you, you're going to be in the tabloids, and your kids, there's no way that they're not going to be aware of what's going on with your career and stuff. I'm just telling you, it's going to be an interesting period.
They're well aware. It's disruptive, dude. I'll have, we were waiting outside of a restaurant, waiting for a table, and
I'm sure you get mobbed all the time just from
and my poor kids just get, there's tunnel vision. They don't, it's nothing malicious. They just, people don't realize
it's going to get worse.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to give my
worse
phone.
Or better.
A phone for my child is not the salve that I'm looking for. So no, that's not not going to be a problem, but they already know it's a hassle.
But you like being on sets.
I feel like that's what I do. That's like me on a set. Like,
see, I hated it.
It is I am so at home.
When I like a show, I watch every minute of it, and I've watched every minute of the first 2 seasons.
Thank you.
Yeah, you don't have to thank me.
Thank you. I'm glad
you
enjoyed it.
because
thank you for watching.
Well,
Keeps us going.
I wouldn't. I don't watch anything I don't like. Wouldn't. I certainly wouldn't watch the whole thing. I'd sample something.
Right.
But you know, I was at the dinner with people last night, and my friends, and they were talking about what they were watching. They were watching the one about Truman Capote that's on now, which I might enjoy. I could enjoy that too. And this other one about Karl Lagerfeld, was it, or no? Some designer back in the 40s, and it sounded interesting also, but like, you know, sort of slow and intellectual. And they said, "What are you watching?" I said, "I'm watching Reacher and Hightown." It's on Stars, and it's about, you know, the badass sheriff who's fucking the stripper, who's actually the baby mom of the drug kingpin. Like, yeah, I like Hightown. I remember I watched Banshee. Remember Banshee?
Amazing, yeah.
That was like my kind of show, like Vikings.
Yeah.
Like, it's TV.
Real highbrow
Don't
stuff.
fucking tell me what I should be watching.
They call it dad TV, which is, I don't really understand.
No, but your show, like the plot resolution, you know, the sticking the landing. I always say this. I was talking to somebody the other day, some director here, and it was like, it's all about the ending. Anybody can think of a good idea for a movie or a show. It's how you end it.
Right.
And like the resolution, I thought it was very clever of where you go. You know, you start with a mystery at the beginning, like, you know, whatever it was, and then by the end, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense, and the onion is slowly being unraveled as we go, and you're giving the audience enough to be going, what's in the next scene?
Right.
But not too, you know, not too much where it's obvious, but not too little so it's murky.
Just a hair's breadth ahead of the audience.
I'm not a fan of murky.
Yeah, no. It's a fine line.
Yeah, it's a fine line.
Yeah.
And then some kicking ass.
And then a couple punches.
No, I like the relationship with you and the little blonde girl in the first one.
Willa Fitzgerald. She played Roscoe.
She was great.
One of the best. Probably will be the best actress I've ever worked with for as long as I live. She was so intensely.
Well, I mean,
she was so engaging.
She was good, but come on, let's not be ridiculous. You have a long.
That's not the only thing she's gonna do.
I
got a taste of it. She's gonna do great things.
I think she was great.
She's
I'm
phenomenal.
not arguing with you, but okay, great. You're the greatest actor you'll ever work with. Sarah Bernhardt would come back from the dead. This chick would be better. But I kind of need a love story, some kind of love story, to keep me interested for a whole series. And so that was a good one.
Okay, yeah.
You know, just the way it evolved.
We got to hold loosely to those love stories in Reacher because they ain't gonna last very long. It's an anthology.
Well, we'll see. We'll see who outlasts who.
Yeah.
You know, you never know.
Totally.
But you're good now. I mean, did the shrink help with that?
Yeah, well, I guess that's what I was going to say was you know, there are things that psychiatrists offer that it's not really religion's purpose, you know? And so there's a confluence of both cognitive therapy and science, you know, with medicine. It's come a long way, and when you put those together, you get some much needed help. So we got to do both, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I went to a psychiatrist a couple of times, very briefly. It was more like couples therapy at the behest of, you know, someone I was in a relationship with.
Right.
Did
you wanted to fix you?
All I could do to not laugh out loud. No. I mean, I know it helps a lot of people, but it was just so much of it was just so LOL. The idea
if you don't go through like 9 psychiatrists though, trying to find the right one, you're doing it wrong.
Is that right?
That's it. You got to find the one that's for you. Just like dating, you wouldn't marry the first person that you date. What, like the first? No, you go through 15, 20 relationships.
But the idea that someone who I'm just meeting now could in any way know me better than I know me. It's like there's so many things about me that like I am just such an expert on, and the psychiatrist really would not be.
But you've got a micro version of yourself. You're zoomed in because you're in there, and there could be somebody who's a really well-educated, well-qualified individual to step back and help see the macro, and see like there's a plot hole over here. You know, there's a little, we need to fill the soil in over here. It's getting a little sparse, the grass, you know, and we can pay attention to that area more. And sometimes it's important to have
Right.
unbiased third party who's well qualified to do that for you.
Yeah. Or you might be digging up some shit that is better left buried. I feel like
Oh, come on. No.
You don't think anything is
Nobody
better-
has benefited in the history of mankind from packing your dirt down harder.
that is not necessarily
You
true.
can't
you
get
do
the,
not
you
know
can't
that.
pull anything through the espresso if that shit's
abs-
tamped down too hard. You
Okay.
got to loosen it up a little bit.
In many cases, yes, you're certainly right that if you bury ideas and if you buried trauma and you bury what you really think about something, first of all, it couldn't appear somewhere else in your physiology.
It will for sure manifest itself somewhere
Yes,
else in an
okay,
ugly way until it's it's raising
But
its hand.
there are some, but people also just want to pick on scabs that just let it heal over. You can't do anything more about it, and just to keep the wound open.
I don't think I don't think a well qualified professional would want to just pick a scab to see it.
I don't know about that. I think people they think it's smarter to just always somehow keep the. You know who does that? And for them it's actually understandable. Actors. Because that's your instrument. An actor is never any good unless they're have some turmoil inside that they're working off of. Am I wrong about that?
Let me.
I don't think so.
Here's the thing: one of the first rooms I ever went in as an actor, I was a semifinalist on American Idol season 3. That was my first time to LA.
American Idol.
I was a singer, so I was flown out for that.
You're a singer too?
Yeah, and that was my first love.
Oh, you're going to go back to that after you're a movie star?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I found my passion.
You'll be
I love filmmaking.
No, you're going to be like J-Lo in many different ways. And then you're going to marry Ben Affleck.
That is
to
the
live
goal.
here.
That's actually it's been my mission for years. Me and
Married
Al
to-
Affleck. Yeah, no, oh my gosh. No, the first room I went in, I had somebody who was interested in repping me because I was on American Idol and had done, was making my way into the business. And the first question was, what kind of trauma do you have? And I was like, oh, I had a pretty normal life. Like, I'm not interested. Why? I'm like, I can act. They're like, no, I'm only the good actors are the ones with trauma, and if you don't have any, you're not going to be interesting on screen. And I just want to say that I think that's such horseshit.
But you got it. You do have trauma, and you're good on screen. So why are we arguing?
Wow.
Right?
I wasn't everybody's got trauma in their own, to some degree in their own respect. But I had a pretty lovely upbringing. I mean, issues with parents and narcissism and all that. But I was not like. There are people with real trauma and they're real broken.
Okay,
and it does not make them a better actor.
Okay, maybe not. But in your case, I'm going to start this story, and then
I was in my mid-30s,
and then we're going to freeze frame and go to 10 years earlier because we have to do that in every show.
I was totally fine.
Please don't do that in Reacher.
I was totally fine.
Will you promise me that? Are you doing more Reachers?
Of course.
Okay, so don't do that thing. The 10 years earlier, 6 months earlier.
We do it all the time. We do flashbacks all the
Everybody
time.
has to do that.
We have to do
Why
these
can't we
flashbacks.
just tell the story?
I'm with you.
No, but you're not a heavy flashback show. But others are your flashbacks are good because they're within the context of it. It's natural. But that whole wait, where are we now?
Right.
Is it
Right.
No, I like that you brought back the dude, the square dude who was a little bit in the second season.
Malcolm.
Finley. It was
Finley.
a perfect use of him.
Great. It was great. He's the best.
And then where does Reacher go in season 3?
Season 3 is about based on the book Persuader, one of the most beloved books in the series.
So you're like James Bond. You have the books to work off.
That's
of.
exactly right.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's almost we're approaching 30 books, so I could do this till I'm.
The funny thing about all these kind of shows or movies that are serials is how does the guy just keep running into trouble? I remember there was a show on called Murder, She Wrote. Don't make a fucking age joke. It's a famous show.
The black and white.
It was not in black and white.
Was it in Technicolor yet?
Yeah, when you drop dead at 49 of a heart attack, because you're You're too
Murder, She Wrote.
Sasquatchy.
Remember that one?
Yeah, bigger people
I
live.
do. Oh, I'm
live
for
less.
sure gonna. My heart's gonna give out quick.
Exactly.
I'm with you.
I guess, and then you'll have real vulnerability, and then you'll be in the tabloids.
I'll be begging you for. Yeah, I'll be begging you for a defibrillator. You're not gonna.
But Murder, She Wrote, it was this huge. I guested on it twice. And she lived in this small town. It was Angela Lansbury. She lived in this small New England town, and it was on for like 8-9 years. I mean, you think of the amount of murders that had to happen in a tiny New England town. But God damn it, like Die Hard, like they did 5 of those. Like, really? Once again?
Right.
He's running into a terrorist.
Right.
This motherfucker has the worst luck in the world.
There are
But,
decades worth of research.
We want that. And does he have a love interest this time?
Every year.
Please. You got to have.
He's the American James Bond.
Exactly.
New romances everywhere he goes.
Yeah, because he really liked that little Roscoe, but he didn't like it more than his nature.
Right.
And that's
At least he can admit that.
Hey, I've never been married. I'm more Reacher than you in a way.
There you go.
But yeah, I do understand that, like, part of, maybe that's one thing I really relate to that character is, it's all about, I think it's all about that, like, is your life in tomorrow? I can't ever be happy with what happened, even though I have wonderful memories. They're gone. They're gone.
Yeah.
So it only tortures me if I can think about something that was great in the past that is not going to also happen in the future.
Totally.
So you were married when you tried to...
I had married with kids.
Right.
I thought that it was the best gift that I could give them at the time was freeing them of the burden of myself.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people that, people are, those that are left behind, confounded by suicide. How could they do this? Like they had a loving family, they had a loving wife or kids or whatever. How could they do this? I can assure you, they with what faculties they had working, they felt like it was the most loving thing that they could do.
Right.
And that's what's so difficult about it, because in the confusion of depression, that lack of logic and reason takes hold, and it seems logical. That's a hallmark of bipolar as well, is a clinical lack of insight.
So how does your wife deal with, like, when you go out? Like, I mean, I know guys like you, the chicks are always like trying to, and chicks have no shame. They don't care if you're with somebody. That makes it even better.
Yeah.
How does she deal with that?
She's intensely strong. We both came from a small town, and I think you say to yourself, like, I'll pursue this career, but you can't imagine what the consequences of success in an industry like this bring.
Gonna get worse.
And when you have, how do I say this? When you have sex icons throwing themselves at you, trying to destroy your marriage, actively trying to destroy your marriage, you bet your ass she's damn strong. Because you don't ask for that. It's like you can very well not invite that in your life and still be dealing with people trying to actively destroy your marriage.
Sounds like you need a friend to hang with you.
I think I need I need more people. I'll call you next time.
A guy who could, like,
maybe you can wingman
take
for
the
me.
Overflow, take them off your hands, make your wife feel better, and also satisfy. Yeah. Well, I'm sure, but I think you're probably also being modest. I think it wouldn't work if you didn't help and participate. I mean, you can't be iffy on that. You can't be like, I know people, who are like, well, I flirt. I just never really do it. It's like, yeah, that's not good either.
Yeah, no,
in a way that's worse.
And that's not real. That's not a real relationship. That's not a real relationship.
Well,
if that's who you are, and you're genuinely, like, entertained by this idea of playing with fire, that's not real.
Right.
Like, that's not fair to the other person.
No, but
I genuinely, deeply love and want a marriage. I love my wife. I want a marriage. I want my family to be intact.
Right.
I fight for it.
see.
I fight bipolar, I fight mania, I fight my own personal demons, and my own manly primal desires. Like, it's all out there, and we talk about it, and we go to war.
Right.
We go to war, and it fucking is a war, dude. It's a war.
It is?
Yeah, dude. This industry that I'm in, I'm talking
of the industry.
What comes at you, what pulls at you, what tries to destroy your marriage, like it's.
Oh, I see.
It's all of it. It's real. It's real. You
Right.
know, and so we really, really work hard.
Yeah, I can see.
Just to stay married. You know, and it takes a concerted effort. Absolutely, dude. But I mean it.
Nutty.
I mean it. And
I think it's nutty.
No,
I'm kidding.
it's so worth it though. But it's not for everybody. And I think there's a little bit of a problem in our society where we say that the model for healthy, successful, joyful living is a married couple, and we demote this idea of a single individual into second class. That's not right. That's not true. There are a lot of very, very meaningful, purpose-filled lives that are single individuals.
You're reading my lines.
But like we should, like, you are not second class because you've decided to,
thank
to
you.
be single. Like, it's true.
No.
And like, we're talking about the Catholic Church and institutions. We have been told for so many years by large institutions that the model for successful, healthy living is a married couple. That's not true. You can have a deeply meaningful life and be single.
Of course. I mean,
I'm with
it's all just about personal taste. It's the chip that's put in our brain when we're born. I mean, you can laugh at me, and I'm perfectly fine with that because I laugh at them. And to me, it's preposterous. It's ridiculous. It's like, really? I mean, don't you get tired of that person seeing the same human being every day?
Oh, that's funny. It's so funny.
Auntie Mame said the world's a banquet and most poor sons of bitches are starving.
That's so funny. No, I know.
It's just
I think
different.
there's something so deeply satisfying about a love that endures
There is.
time.
And I've had that too.
It's just. Oh, I crave it, dude, with every fiber of my being. Like, yeah, there are other interesting people in the world, but I think I found my person.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you should definitely send her this podcast because I mean, you're definitely
she couldn't care less about listening to my podcast anymore.
No, but like this tribute to her.
It's very, very much become about connection. Like, I have a deep desire to connect. With her entire person, her body, mind, soul, right? And it's become this thing where, like,
I'm telling you,
you can look in the eyes of somebody that you deeply care about, and it's this act of like, I can't possibly get any closer to you than I am right now, and I wish I could, and it's this beautiful moment of connection. That's really truly what it is, and I think when people discover that that's what the potential, that's where the potential lies in that kind of intimacy. If people haven't discovered this from themselves yet, maybe explore this idea of it truly being about how deeply can we connect in this moment, instead of getting ourselves off or being gratifying to some self-serving degree. I think that's when it becomes special. And it took me a long time. I mean, we had to run into some really hard times for us to really appreciate that. That's what it is.
Like, and what are hard times all about?
Oh, it's hard.
You're gonna fight, and do you ever really forget where you buried a hatchet?
But I think people have said variations of this, but I think love is knowing exactly where those weapons lie and deciding not to use them. Like, where you buried all these hatchets.
Right.
And that's you got to trust each other, and that
is a great definition of love.
Yeah. So
yes.
We definitely know where we can
Right.
hurt each other. But we choose not to because we care
Right.
deeply. So.
But things are good.
Things are good, yeah, but it's, this business is hard, man, and doing life, building a family on the road together is hard, and trying to know when to give each other space to, like, connect with community. Like our kids, for example, we put them in school for a semester.
My prediction, you're going to buy a house within 3 years. I think
I think we have to.
I think you have.
We have to figure out a way to do it because our kids need it. Our kids need that.
And you're going to need it. You're going to find, I think, that you're going to like it. You're going to like, okay, this is home.
I don't know. I'm a raving mad artist. I'm a lone wolf. But my kids and my wife will like it.
I am too, but we all mellow. Freud said there's only two things in life, love and work. I put my eggs in, well, I can count on the work, because that's me.
Because you can count on yourself.
I can count on myself. The love is super important, and I can't live without it, but that's not going to be, I see that I can't count on that as much. Now, this is, again, deeply psychological.
Hell yeah, it's
This is
deeply
not-
psychological. Hear me out.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm working with Jason Hall, who wrote American Sniper. Incredible writer.
I just watched it again.
Incredible writer. Right?
Terrific movie.
We're developing a project together.
Wow.
And he said it really beautifully. He said, Joseph Campbell's entire hero's journey
Sure.
can be summed up like this: the protagonist refusal to release. The refusal to release. That's the hero's journey, right?
Release what?
That's exactly the question you have to answer with your script.
The Kraken?
That's right. You've done that more than once. Refusal to release. What is it? We got to find what that is. What have we refused to release? For you, could it be that you've found a safe harbor in the work? There's not much work you have to do there because the fire's ignited and there's not a challenge there. There's nothing really to refuse to release. But in relationship, you have to give up your power and you have to give up control and safety and the feeling of security.
I'm a control freak.
Control freak.
See, I can't do that.
Can't release control.
I don't want to. I was in a relationship when I was from like 32 to 37, like the exact time I should have gotten married if you were going to get married.
Right.
But yeah, so I've been down the path, and then I've been in other, serious, that was 5 years. Other ones lasted like 3, 2. So I know the drill. I know what it's like, and I know the sacrifices, and I know the gains. I know that it's very nice to have someone who they have your back, and you can, you have security. But I feel like this tension between security and excitement will never go away. And for me, look, Alan, water rolls downhill. It's always going to roll toward excitement.
Interesting.
Yeah, and
I'm so curious.
I know it's interesting to talk to people who are not like you, right?
Oh yeah.
It is because
yeah.
we're not like each other. But that's it. I mean, people always said to me my whole life, don't let your dick rule your life. Don't think with your dick. And I always said, why not? It's going to win anyway. I feel like my dick is like the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. They're gonna get out. You can try to write the end of this movie 10 different ways, but there's only one way this movie can end. The dinosaurs get out.
Right. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. Wow.
But you're a better man than I because you're more mature and all that stuff. But you're going to be tested. I know I have to let you go because I got a plane. And by the way, thank you for doing this. I don't
Thanks for
know.
having me, man. Appreciate it.
I know you came here to do this. I know you're always on the road, so I can't be that big-headed about it. You got to be somewhere that's not where you're supposed to be at any moment. So you put this on your stop, and I know you got to get back on the road. But I really did enjoy your show. I don't enjoy that many shows. And I wanted to do this because I was like, well, I'm going to get this guy right before he's too big to do it because he's going to be too big to do it. But I hope you won't forget us.
I wanted to do this.
I
I wanted to do this. I enjoy the conversations you have.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And I'm deeply curious. I'm fascinated by
this was more fun than a barrel of monkeys. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
I did.
I think I was going to ask you one other thing before I went into that, but I forgot. Oh, should I do my? I'm at the Hobby Center for the Performing Arts. It's so smooth, Alan, isn't it? In Houston, March 2nd, March 3rd, the Performing Arts Center in El Paso. Oh, this means your show's going to air very quickly, so it'll be right after your movie. Yeah. What's the name of your movie that just came out?
Which one? Ordinary Angels. It's out today.
Ordinary Angels.
Yesterday for some
February 23rd. And then I'll be March 23rd at the Jackie Gleason Theater in Miami. Did you ever get to any of these? Did you ever get to Miami?
I did. Just went there with my wife.
Let's fucking do Miami together.
Amen. Tell me when you're going. I'm there.
I want to March 23rd at the Jackie Gleason Theater. You're always on the road.
I just wanted to hear that
Get
one
your
time.
hobo stick. That's what I picture you. You have a hobo stick.
Johnny
with
Appleseed.
the clothes.
Yeah.
That was a funny bit in the thing where you in the first run where you never get the pie.
Right. And by the way, I waited all season to actually have that pie because they kept going, would you like a piece before you go for the day? And I'm no, I'm going to wait until the very end of the season.
It was
the worst pie I think I've ever had in my entire life.
Club Random.
Amen.
That was great.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks for coming.
My pleasure.
All right.
All right, man.